Hej, jag heter Heidi Hernandez och var en elev under en termin på NTI Skolan komvux distansutbildning. Och den här videon har syftet att visa en av mina muntliga uppgifter i ämnet Engelska 6. Part 1. For this part, you must choose one of the lectures shown and presented to your teacher, considering the following points. Briefly summarize the lecture. Describe the invention presented in the lecture. How has or will this invention presented in the lecture affected you on a personal level, the society you live in, and the world? What do you think about the future of this invention? Briefly summarize lecture. Part 1. The lecture that I selected is How a Driverless Car Sees the Road by Chris Armson. The speaker started explaining the history of the advances of the cars from 1885. He explained how the experts have tried to improve the safety through airbags, seat belts, and smart tools to fix the driver's problems. According to the engineer Chris Armson, the driver assistance systems are not efficient enough. And this is the reason why he presented the idea of a fully self-driving car. Armson exposed the problem of the roads through statistics, and it shows that 1.2 million people are killed on the world's roads per year. Therefore, this expert proposed the self-driving car. He presented the first tested Google car in 2013, expressing that it still can fail. However, Armson showed in a curve that with the improvements with this technology, the self-driving car can avoid accidents considerably. On a screen, he showed how the car sees the world in a highway, how the sensors of the car work, and how does it make the recognition of other cars, pedestrians, cyclists, and trucks. He explained also how its program intends to predict the action of all of them and how to respond. Finally, he showed that the last version of the self-driving car could solve all the problems successfully. Describe the invention presented in the lecture. Chris Armson presented a model of a self-driving car that has special sensors to recognize the traffic environment, such as pedestrians, cyclists, trucks, other cars, and more, in order to avoid accidents. How has or will this invention presented in the lecture affected you on a personal level? The invention presented has affected me in a positive way because I like to be informed about the advances of technology of new cars. I learned from the presentation of this project that everything is possible if we act determined to improve something that is already created. How has or will this invention presented in the lecture affect the society you live in? Self-driving cars are trying to improve the safety of the society and avoid accidents. However, according to an article named Self-Driving Car Acceptance and the Role of Ethics, there is a knowledge gap. The program of the car will make decisions between life and death, and the acceptance of this fact needs more investigation. As an evidence of lack of enough investigation, ITV News published an accident of a self-driving Uber, which caused the death of a person when the program couldn't recognize a pedestrian in time. After this, Chris Armson emphasized that the key is just to continue the investigations and the testings to improve the safety of the society. How has or will this invention presented in the lecture affect the world? The lecture has affected the world in a constructive way because it is trying to create a safer place to every human. At the same time, it is a knowledge that can inspire others to create useful tools to improve life. What do you think about the future of this invention? Chris Armstrong has sold this idea very well, and I believe it will be in the automotive market very soon. Part 2. For this part of the assignment, you should pick 3 of these quotes and prepare to discuss them with your teacher. Use the questions in the instructions to get you started, but feel free to bring up anything you find relevant to discuss. First quote. Invention is not enough. Tesla invented the electric power we use, but he struggled to get it out to people. You have to combine both things, invention and innovation focus, plus the company that can commercialize things and get them to people. What do you find interesting about this quote? Well, first of all, the person that says the quote, Larry Page, he's one of the co-founders of Google. He is an engineering scientist. It is an interesting quote due to it inspires to start an enterprise, to achieve a goal, and it gives a warning when someone wants to start a business. What do you think that the quote means? In 1900, Tesla found financial support by JP Morgan in New York. However, when the funds ran out, he couldn't continue a great project. This is an example who Larry Page wants to highlight due to his project could work thanks to the big amount he could get from friends and family. Why do you think the person said it? Due to Google became a world-famous success, he wanted to show himself as an example to others who want to be an entrepreneur. Second quote. Language is the most extraordinary invention in the history of humanity, the one which came before everything and which makes it possible to share everything. Luc Lesieux. What do you find interesting about this quote? I found this quote interesting because I completely agree with it. I certainly believe that language is the element that contributes to spreading our ideas, creating revolutions, and changing the history of human civilization. And everything happened from the Sumerian script until the new era of information. What do you think that the quote means? It means that language is just that component which human people created from ancient times to communicate. It is the factor that finished with prehistory and started the history as a subject. It comes from the first civilizations like Sumerians, Egyptians, Greeks, or Romans, and we continue sharing our ideas through the language in different media. Why do you think the person said it? Because he was a Nobel Prize writer who became international with the publication of his books, novels, and essays. Third quote. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet, death is the destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it. And that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It is life's change agent. It clears out the old to make the way for the new. Steve Jobs. What do you find interesting about this quote? I find it interesting that the person who said it had reached everything in life. Advanced studies, high income, a brilliant career in Apple, Pixar, and media. However, he wanted to wake up his followers from the material world. He wanted to remember us that all of us are human, and unfortunately, death is something we have in common. What do you think that the quote means? The quote means that even those who are religious and believe in a better world after life don't want to finish their lives. It has an existential meaning also, due to every human will die just as a normal experience of the circle of life. That is the system that nature created to maintain a balance in this planet, according to Darwin. Jobs thinks of the transformation of the matter, where life changes human beings in a new material. Why do you think the person said it? Jobs was diagnosed with a pancreatic neuroendocrine tumor in 2003. He knew he was going to die. He studied Zen Buddhism, and he wanted to give a philosophic thinking to the world.